Welcome back, everyone. I'm here. I'm here now. It's been a few weeks now since I've teamed up and essentially joined Forged Youth. Mariel, before it was official, you sent me a few episodes to sort of to get a feel. Really didn't know each other. Like I came on the podcast, we hit it off, had a great conversation, but we didn't know each other.
Mm.
We both have, sort of different reasons for being in this space, but I know Forged. It just didn't come out of thin air. There's a story. You you sort of broke it down in your episode one of the podcast, but my feedback, or not feedback, comments to you was like, "Oh, I wish you would have went in further so that people could really like get to know you and me too. Like we're working together. And we still really haven't dove in because we're on opposite sides of the country. It's not like we, go for coffee or lunch or something. Like, we show up,
Yeah.
we do our work, and then we kind of go back to our families. So in this episode, I'm hoping it's that we can dive in, your story. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about mine, why we do this work. But I know this is an important cause for you. So
Yeah, thank you for that intro. It is an important cause. And I think it should be just like a precursor to everybody that I'm an open book and there are many things that have happened in my story that are aggressively hard. And I'm at peace with my history. And so that's why I can speak about it with confidence, but it is hard for people to hear. And so I do want to say that I acknowledge that maybe this might trigger some people and I just want you to hold space for yourself. And if you need somebody to hold space for you, please reach out. But yeah, if I'm going to share my story, there is some parts that are going to be a little hard to listen to.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm yeah. So take us back then. This volleyball tournament, and like this really. I don't want to, not obviously not offended, but if I felt like, well, I'm in this camp, like the label hockey player and hockey players in this community, um, there's a stain on the culture, especially in the last
Mhm.
few years, things coming out in the media. Um, so that's what's kind of like, oh, I just I wanted to hear more and just know, you know, for for myself, not to enable this, type of thing to happen. So.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll start kind of at the beginning and then when I was 11 to 15, I had a volleyball coach who was just adamant about mental training. And that plays a lot into this because obviously we circle back and that's why Forged is around because I knew about mental training back then. And so our coach at the time, he would train our minds as much as our bodies. And that really unlocked our potential as individuals and as a team. We were undefeated. There's so many banners on the walls. A lot of my teammates got full ride scholarships across North America, played provincial team, national team, the whole thing. And for me, I was growing up in a town and in a family that I felt a lot different from. And volleyball became my ticket out. And so I dedicated my life to being extremely good at volleyball
Mm.
and both physically, mentally, all that kind of stuff. And by the time grade 11 came around, I was 15. I was ahead. I was homeschooled till grade 7, did 2 grades in 1 year, whatever. I was ahead. And so 15 in grade 11, 15 playing on the U18 team for club and we were about to head to nationals in a different province. But before this happens, a thing needs to be said that I made it. I got recruited. By grade 11, I had so many letters of intent and invitation from universities across North America, even pro teams in Europe.
Wow.
So everything that I worked super hard for, all the sacrifices I made as a kid, not having a life, like all of those things, I was holding the golden tickets in my hand and I was like, yes. Okay. So this tournament happens across the country. It's my first time on a plane. I came from a pretty low income family and we never had, money to do cool things like go on plane rides and like all that kind of stuff. So first plane ride by myself without my parents. And we go to this tournament and do really well. And it's a co-ed tournament. So the boys are playing on, one half of the gym, the girls are playing on the other half of the gym, U18.
Hmm.
And teams from all over Canada. And after the tournament is over, the word gets out amongst the players who are staying at the same hotel as us that there's going to be a party in a few of the rooms of one of the boys' teams. And I mean, there's a lot of teams staying at this hotel, okay?
Hmm.
And there was a couple of girls on my team that were old enough to go and get alcohol in that province. And so they went and got alcohol. The bathtub in our room was like full of booze. It was kind of crazy. I had never drank before in my life. Like I never did. And
Where were the coaches? Did
where were
they
the
know?
coaches?
Yeah, did they know or did they?
No, they didn't know. It was pretty, everybody did a good job of keeping it hush hush.
Hmm.
And and I mean the coaches don't really spend time in our rooms, in our hotel rooms, right? So they didn't know that the bathtub was full of booze or whatever. And that night comes, and a few members of the team and I sneak out, take some of the booze with us, and go to the room where the party was. And get there, and there's music playing, and people are dancing, and it's just super whatever, right? It's like everything is like a 15-year-old. You're like, yeah, this is awesome. And and then I cracked open a drink, and I was having a drink, and was having fun. Like nothing terrible, just having a drink, having fun with my teammates and all the other people that were there. And there, and then I'm recalling, okay? And then I go to have a second drink, and all of a sudden, I don't really remember anything.
Mm.
And I wake up, and there is a guy on top of me, and I'm laying on a bed in a pool of my own blood.
Mm.
And I just say, what is going, like what is happening? What? And I'm just so confused. And he says, "Don't worry, it's supposed to be like this." And I was like, "What? No." I said, "No." And then I looked over on the old school TV that was in the room at that time, and there was a video camera on the TV pointed our direction. And I
Mm.
pass out. The next time I wake up, I'm in a shower. I'm just dumped in a shower. The sheets are bloody and balled into the corner of the bathroom, and I'm alone. And I got up and I got out of the shower, put on my clothes that were there in the bathroom, and I left the hotel room and I went into my room. And the girls were sleeping. I couldn't even have a shower to actually wash myself and whatever, because my bath was full of fucking booze. So I couldn't even have a shower. And the the girls were sleeping because I was the only one from my specific room that had snuck out. And so I just laid in bed and cried because I was so confused. I was so confused I'm 15, remember, right? So I'm so confused at that point on, was this my fault? My parents told me not to drink. My parents told me not to, dance with boys. My parent, like all of these things. Is this my fault? And I thought it was. Did I choose to have sex with him? Did I want to have sex with him? I didn't know, like, because I didn't remember. And a couple hours later, alarms start going off and everybody starts getting up because we have an early morning flight back home. And And so I'm sitting on the plane in my filth still, next to a coach from a different team who was actually also the coach of one of the universities that was recruiting me at the time. And
Mm,
he was just like, Mariel, we all heard what happened about partying, not necessarily about my
mm,
exact situation. We all heard what happened and we're just so disappointed in you. You know, you're not like this. You're different than everybody else. Did it and just like totally like
mhm,
from their now being an adult and from their perspective, not knowing what had happened,
mhm,
trying to be motivational and like, get your head out of your ass, Mariel. You have so much on the line here, right? But not knowing what had happened. And so the whole time I'm just like taking all that and going, it was my fault. It was my fault, and harboring it and harboring it. We get home. And one of the girls who had been out with us on our team, she's always a super loud person to begin with. And then you put some drinks in her and she's like extremely loud. And so
mm,
everybody knew that she was out, which meant that I would have been out and these two other people, right? And so the principal of our school had been called, our parents had been called, everybody was waiting.
mm,
And it was just like I got kicked out of school. I had to go, the principal in the office pulled me in too and was like all up in my face about, you did something with a boy. We know, you're not supposed to do that. You're like all of these things. And I was alone in that room with that principal, and he was like an old white male.
mm,
And I'm 15 and sitting in my shame, not knowing what the fuck happened, and pardon my language. Right? And then at home, I got the same thing at home from my parents. Nobody asked if I was okay. Everybody was just totally mortified that I had partied and that apparently that I had been with a boy.
mhm,
And so yeah, so I got kicked out of school, and it was right near the end of school, and I was supposed to be one of my good friend till this day, actually. I was supposed to be his prom date. And they said that I wasn't going to be allowed to go to prom with him, as well as the two other girls that did sneak out that were from my school weren't going to be able to graduate if we all didn't say sorry to the entire school and board of directors and the board of the church that was affiliated, because I went to a Christian school at that time. And still, no one has asked me if I'm okay. Okay. So, uh, I didn't want to leave my buddy hanging and not be his prom date. And my friend didn't want to not graduate, be able to write her grade 12 exams and like all that kind of stuff. And so, her and I go in front of an assembly that is the entire school, kindergarten to grade 12, the school's board of directors, any parents that wanted to go, and the church.
mhm,
It was full.
mhm,
And my friend went first to say sorry, and she had written out pages of explaining and saying sorry and all the like all this stuff. And she's trying to read it and she starts bawling her eyes out and like shaking and all this stuff. And I go up on stage and I just hold her and I hold the paper for her so she can keep reading. And she finishes her apology and she walks off the stage. And now it's my turn and I'm standing up there and I'm so mad.
mm,
And I say, I'm not sorry.
mm,
And the whole crowd goes, and I'm looking at the back of the room at the like head of the school, who is also the head of the church. And I'm making eye contact with him. And I say it again, I'm not sorry. I said, sports comes with all sorts of situations that arise, and so does life. And
mm,
we make our decisions and we have to live with them. And so for my entire life, I have never stepped outside of the lines because of my sport and because of representing my school and my family and all these things. And I did this time. And I learned a lot. And so I'm not sorry. And I walked off the stage. Right? They let me go. I have no idea how or who pulled strings to like let me be able to go to prom that year. And they actually asked if I would come back for grade 12 so that I could play on the team and make sure the team did well. Um, which is crazy. But because of that, and because of how young I was, my parents decided that they couldn't trust me to make solid decisions if I was to go away and play volleyball. And so they made the decision for me that I would stay in town and actually go to like a local Bible college because, of course, I needed more Bible in my life. No offense to any of the Christians out there. This actually has nothing to do with religion, okay? But here I am now, a traumatized, angry, feeling totally isolated young woman who is now at college, right? Playing a sport, like it just, yeah.
Hmm.
So for the next, like really 2 years, my first 2 years of college, I played volleyball and I partied and I almost failed every class. I didn't know where the library was and I was just angry and like doing anything I could to just like really try and figure out how to take my power back, but I didn't have the skills and I wasn't happy. And I got myself into another situation that was really scary. Uh, at that time, I was one of the only people who had my car and my license. And there was a couple girls, and they came up to me, um, I don't know, on campus somewhere, and they're like, Mariel, let's go to this party. Some of our friends are having a party. It's a hockey party a few cities away. And it's gonna be really fun. There's gonna be lots of people there, and you've got the wheels. Let's go. And I was
What,
like,
sorry, is your volleyball career, are you still pursuing higher levels or is it kind of put in the back burner now?
it's on the back burner, but I am playing for college.
Okay.
Yeah, but like me going higher than that, I felt like it had been taken away and I just stopped like really
Was that
pursuing
your thing or
excellence.
was that your parents like, no, you're not going to go to like Penn
Yeah,
State, whatever?
parents.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's powerful because that's a big deal. Like going to a D1 school, free
yeah,
education.
yeah, totally,
Okay,
totally.
sorry, go on.
No, yeah, no, it's good, good. Pause me whenever.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a party a few cities away. And so everybody gets dressed up. And just for also sidebar here, I want to talk about how I dressed because I think that's an important piece here because a lot of times people think that, it's girls who are dressed in, sexually sexy ways or whatever that are getting attacked, and that's not true. Like I was also a skater, like a skateboarder, and I dressed like a skater boy. Like you didn't really know that I had a figure until I put a bathing suit on or like wore my spandex, right? And so I just want to lay that out there. For some reason, I feel like that's important. But so we get dressed up to go to this party, me being dressed up as like jeans and a t-shirt, right? And they're all gussied up. But we're driving to this party and we show up and it's an apartment building. I'm like, that's interesting. Like it sounded like the party was supposed to be pretty big, and now it's in like an apartment building. And we go up the stairs, find the apartment, and go inside. And when you think party, what do you think, Jordan?
Okay. Boys and girls, drinking, music, house party?
House party,
Yeah,
right?
just
Yeah, lots of people.
yeah, tons of
Like,
people.
yeah, lots of people, busy, music, fun, laughing. Somebody's getting thrown in a pool because of all the parties we've seen on videos, like whatever, right? We
Mhm.
walk into this apartment, and there are four of us girls, and seven guys.
Mm.
And
So,
there's like decks of cards on a round table and like a mountain of booze. And I was like, I got such a like, oh, feeling. And I did not want to be there anymore. And I turned around and was like, guys. And they're like, whatever, we're here now. We drove all this way. We're staying. And I was like, okay.
mhm.
I'm 17 at this point. Okay. So the night progresses and we're playing drinking games and all that kind of stuff. And people start to pair off and leave the table.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, I realize that I am ridiculously drunk sitting at the table with three guys. And all of a sudden, my chair is being pulled out from underneath me. And they're like, come on, let's go. Let's go have some fun. And they start like one on either side of me because I'm like tipsy, falling kind of, right? I drank way too much because I was uncomfortable and didn't want to be there. Anyways, and they're starting to walk me down the hall towards the room at the end of the hall. And as we're walking by rooms, I see my friends hooking up with the other people in the other room. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I know what's about to happen. And I'm no, 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 no. And I get continually walked down the room or to the room and I get thrown on the bed and my clothes get taken off. And I
Hmm.
am in my drunken stupor saying no, that I did not want to be there and it didn't matter. I had three, like I was gang raped that day.
Hmm.
And I shut my eyes on the bed and I said, God, if you are there, give me the strength. And like those women who whip cars off of their freaking kids who are trapped underneath, I had superhuman strength. And I
Hmm.
literally was like, boom, and burst off the bed. I broke somebody's nose because there was blood and it was not mine this time. And like guys were falling over, and I grabbed what I could see of my clothes and I ran out the door and I just started yelling for the girls, we're leaving now. And I literally ran into the rooms and like pulled them out of whatever situations that they were in and said, we're leaving now. And they all didn't ask any questions, thank fuck, and jumped in. And we ran downstairs to the car. We get to the car, and I'm like, I know how much I've drank. And I do not feel drunk at the moment. I am very much awake and alive. But if I had blown in a thing, like there was no way that I would have passed, right? And I was just like, again, God, get us home. We are not supposed to be here. Got in the vehicle, quietest car ride home I've ever been in my life. Drove over an hour, got
Wow.
back to our campus, and I parked and I stopped, and everybody just sat there in silence for like 15 seconds. And then everybody got out and like left. And I walked, I wasn't living on campus at that point. I was living in a little apartment across from campus, but I parked on campus. So I walked through campus and went to my apartment and shut the door. And I was there for like 3 days and nobody checked on me. And I was just like, holy, what happened? And those 3 days were so dark, you guys. So dark. I was contemplating life. Is it worth it? And, and then all of these thoughts, well, maybe, this is like, maybe this is something that can help somebody later on. Maybe this is, I go through hard things for a reason. And I decided to quit drinking that day. It obviously had not served me any positive purpose in the time that I had been drinking.
Hmm.
And I got really curious about why. Why was I continuing to put myself in that situation? Why do people make the decisions that they do to take advantage of people or, all that kind of stuff? And I ended up graduating with my BA in counseling and pursuing working with at-risk kids. I worked in safe houses. I started a charity to help youth, like all of these things, because we kind of become what we need. And then in the past couple of years, it came full circle back to sports. But I'll pause there to see if there's any questions.
At any point, did you think about like going to well, first the people, those guys, or an authority of some figure?
No, you know what? I didn't. I had told that was the next year. So no, I didn't because unfortunately I grew up in such a family and a culture with the religion that I grew up with that was so much shame around sex, so much shame around drinking, so much shame around, everything that it made me, I felt very unsupported and like it would be my fault. And I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to get in trouble. And it sounds crazy now as an adult saying that. However, I wasn't an adult when I was making those decisions and stuck in my mind. I was alone and I was a teenager. And by the time the second time happened, I was like a traumatized teenager who had then just spent the last 2 years partying, which was like the exact opposite of what my parents wanted. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't, the first one, like there was so many people at that tournament. There were so many people in the hotel. Like I don't even know how, right? And then the third one, years and years later, I did think about trying to figure out who those three hockey guys were. I even like looked at rosters of teams around that time that were in like that city and surrounding cities, but I couldn't recognize anybody and or their names or anything. And so I um I just left it. And I've been asked a few times, like, why don't you now go and do something about it? And I think that there is a lot of people who make mistakes when they're drinking and when they're young that are roped in um, to do things that they wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. And I think that the situation with the hockey players, honestly, was probably that. I feel like those boys, you know, they probably deeply, deeply regret and are ashamed of that because it was a time and a place and a moment and it was like mob mentality.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first time, um, yeah, you were blackout, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
There's no memory, but the way you describe it to me, it sounded like the second time you were more like with it. You were more
Hmm.
conscious. Was there ever a moment where you were like, where you could have like not went with them? Like, did that cross your mind? Did the situation, you know what I mean? Like, was there an opportunity out? And I don't mean to be like, I'm just asking because I know there's some people, I just know how people think, right? And I know there's probably some people like, why didn't you just run out the front door? Like, I don't know.
Uh, when I was being led down the hallway, I was trying to not be led down the hallway. But I honestly, like at that point in my life, I was drinking a lot. I was drinking a lot and like I could barely stand. And so, when you have me as a 17-year-old volleyball player up against three hockey players, who have something in their mind, there isn't tons that you can do about it. Everything that I feel like I could do, I was trying to do.
Mm,
Yeah. 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 And then it would just like, it took a long time for me to even share that story with anybody, like years to
mm,
even share that story with anybody because there is a lot of shame in it and there is a lot of, what ifs or
mhm.
all of that. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other girls say anything? Did they ask or did they?
No, no one even asked or talked about it or anything. It was just totally quiet. Yeah. And I don't speak to any of those girls anymore. Like after that year, I actually left college and I took like 3 years off. And then I and like sorted myself out. And then I went back and pursued my counseling degree and graduated with it. Yeah. But I just needed time away to get myself into a situation where I was in control of my actions. And yeah, but it was really crazy. And this is kind of where it came full circle was because I started to realize that the situations that I have been in, I'm not alone and I'm not like anything special. There are so many women and men who have dealt with similar terrible situations. And there are so many of them that choose not to live because
Mm,
of it, or that they can't get out of the shame, or they can't get out of that victim being the victim because I was a victim and they are victims, all of those people who have been attacked. But I didn't stay there. I was able to go, the hard things happen. so we can get better on the other side, so we can learn, so we can grow, so we can help somebody else. And even like visualization. My coach back in the mental training days, he would have us doing guided visualizations about all the things that we wanted to happen and what it looked like and how specific details, just so deep visualizations, and they all came true. We had the banners, I got recruited, like all that kind of stuff. And I just was like, okay, if it works for volleyball, it's going to work for life. And I would
Hmm.
visualize a life where I used my story to empower and equip other people to be able to step outside of the victim piece. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked earlier about gratitude, before this podcast, and I think just having that mindset that you
Mhm.
have is, yeah, it's what a gift, what a gift. And I just feel for the people who aren't able to make that transition, out of the victim state.
Mhm.
And it's,
But
I
it,
don't know if you can even, can you teach it? Like, is it,
yes, I was just gonna say it is a gift, but it's not something that is given, it's something that is learned. And that's why Forged is here, because what I realized is that my coach was teaching me all of these life skills that are so necessary to thrive in life, regardless of what it delivers to you.
yeah,
To be resilient, gritty. A word I really like is anti-fragile, stronger because of the struggle. How to emotionally regulate, how to imagine a life in such a powerful way that it actually comes to fruition. And he taught those to us through sport. And so I sponged it in at such an early age that it was second nature when life delivered something that was like unbearable. And and so, after working in the mental health industry with youth, after all these years of me getting my counseling degree and really trying to help youth and equip youth, I kept on kind of coming to the kind of maybe like a roadblock that youth have to want to learn these skills.
right.
And so if you're going to sit down with a kid aged like 11 to 24 and say, I'm going to teach you how to emotionally regulate because one day something really hard might happen and you're going to use it. They're going to be like, okay. And it's like, they're not going to be paying attention. They're going to be focused. Like, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. But if you attach it to something where they're going to see results right now and that is important to them right now, then you're actually setting them up for like success for the rest of their lives when sport ends, because everybody, sport ends.
Yeah.
And so that's why Forged happened, because it was like, okay, I can help really, kids like me who just want to thrive in their sport and get to be the best that they can be and like all that kind of stuff. And it's just a super ninja way to also empower them to be strong in their life outside. And same with like parents. Like my parents and I now have a very good relationship. As adults, we've been able to sit down and have really hard and uncomfortable conversations and work our way through it, and it's really beautiful. Not a lot of people have that. I'm really grateful that my parents have also evolved, because it does take both sides to do that. But they didn't have the skills or the support around them to even deal with things like that, or deal with, having an elite athlete in the family or whatever that looks like. They were on their own trying to navigate it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so now we coach youth, but we also provide support for parents, because parents play such a vital role in this too. And as, as parents, our role is to really equip our kids in any way possible with the tools needed to be resilient and strong, and to have confidence in who they are outside of what they do, and know that their value comes from something outside of what they do, right?
Mm.
So sports, okay. you're an amazing hockey player, but that actually isn't who you are. It's just what you do, and your worth comes from your value and how you react and impact and the legacy you leave behind and all that kind of stuff, right? So, you know, especially, I mean, males too, but I'm a female, so I'm speaking from the female perspective. And maybe afterwards you can give me your perspective as a dad, but also as a male growing up in sports, right? Is that with females, you know, we live in a society that, as much as we don't want to have it be that way, so much revolves around the way that we look.
Mhm.
And, we're going to fight till the end of the day to have that not be the case. But it is what it is. And so, from my perspective, it is such a powerful piece for us as parents to be helping our daughters grow up without the worry of what they look like for a while and just be focusing in on being strong, on being brave, on being courageous, on being smart, on awareness and following their intuition. And all of these pieces while they're like underage, let's say. Because as soon as they are, out in the world as a adult, they pass that underage mark, whether it's 19 or 21 or like whatever the age limit is in your country, then all of a sudden they're going to be inundated with what they wear and how they look and the makeup and the eyelashes and the nails and, like going clubbing and all of this kind of stuff. And so while while we want to have our daughters feel confident in who they are and how they look, too, I think it's an important piece to make sure that there's actually a solid foundation around who they are and how they carry themselves versus, needing to look like they're 21 when they're 14, kind of a thing. Because they're going to be dealing with that for the rest of their lives. And so while they're underage, can we not provide them an environment to really build a solid foundation so that when they are out, they know that, they know who they are, they know how to listen to their gut. Like if I had that, then I would have been like, okay, no, you guys, I really don't want to be here and I'm driving, so I'm gonna leave. If you want to come, you're gonna come with me. If not, that's fine. I'm removing myself from the situation,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What's your view on that, coming from like the male perspective?
You mentioned when you did get to that party, you had like a feeling, a gut feeling like, no,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering like how could we help people act on that original gut feeling? Like because it was there. It was always there,
Yeah.
that instinct. Um, yeah, listening to this, I think of my own daughter. Um, of course. And it's tricky, and I'll speak honestly and candidly,
Yeah.
as you have, but my daughter, she's absolutely stunning. She really is beautiful. I'm not just saying this as like everyone thinks their own kid is beautiful. Like wherever we go, oh my God, your daughter's so beautiful. Like she deals with this. Okay, I just have to say this or to make what I'm trying to say more clear. And she gets it from her mom. And I'm guilty of being just looking at her like, Irie, you are so beautiful. Like I love you. And it's the truth, but I'm like, do I not tell her this? Because I don't want her to think that's all she is. I tell her she's absolutely hilarious and all these things. Um, and I tell her that too, but like she definitely hears, you're so beautiful more.
Mm-hmm.
She hears it a lot. And I could tell she's starting to believe it and that she does believe it. Um, but I'm just like, how do I parent her in a way that she doesn't attach her, doesn't make that part of her identity? Like I honestly don't even know if it's possible
Mm.
because she's from the cashier to the aunt or the person on the street or whatever it is. It's over and over again. And I don't worry. I don't really worry about things, but I'm just like, this is something that I need to figure out for her own sake. How do I just arm her? So I don't know. Maybe if you you have any insight there, it's. But you know what? I will say, I know the type of guys you ran into. Like I've been on teams my entire life. Um, I've been around a lot of mob mentality, people just trying to fit in, be popular, be liked. A lot of guys don't have self-esteem, self-confidence, so they seek comfort in the group, and whatever the group is doing, they go along with that to be included. I know this type of person. Um, so I see how these situations exist. I see how they
Mm.
happen right from the root. Um, I actually forget what I was going to say with that.
I I can respond to a part of it
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
because you mentioned about like the intuit, like the gut feeling. And it's interesting because, at that age, right, 17, I I didn't have the confidence to follow my gut. I didn't trust it enough. And on the flip side, where these guys were dealing with their own version of mob mentality, I was as well. Because if I didn't care what those girls thought and fitting in and, being the cool one or whatever that went to the party and drove like all that kind of stuff, then I would have been out of there. But I was in my own version of it, which is why I didn't listen to my intuition and I stayed.
Yes, okay.
And
This is
so it's a mirrored situation. There's just two different sides of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. That brings so much clarity to what I was thinking. I like didn't even really ever consider it, but I remember what I was going to say now. So I heard this a while ago, like before I was going to become a dad of a daughter. I heard this quote came at the perfect time, and it's like, be the man that you want your daughter to marry,
Mm.
essentially.
Yeah.
Be the man that you wouldn't mind your daughter like dating. So like I take it to heart, and you know what? Having said that, just knowing how teenagers are, they want to fit in. I honestly just feel like lucky that I just always seem to be on the right side. It's like I know right from wrong, but there was moments where I could have easily got brought into a situation like that. I feel like just like
Mhm.
teenagers, but doing stupid stuff. Like you don't even know what you're doing. You're drinking and no one's making decisions. It's like this some current is just
Mhm.
is leading the way.
Yeah.
And it's a tragedy. It really is for everybody involved. It's an absolute tragedy
Mhm.
because the people who do that, it's like I mean, there's some monsters out there, yes.
Mhm.
But a lot of the times it's just lost humans, that they're just lost young men who are really just boys, with no self-esteem, just trying to
Yeah.
fit in. And of course the ultimate victim in the situation is the woman, of course, but it's an
Yeah.
absolute tragedy all around. There's absolutely no winners.
Yeah. But you know what? You can still win from a tragic experience because as terrible, and I can see this, like I can say this with full certainty, that as horrible as it was, I wouldn't go back and change it because what that it did is it created a compassion in me. It created a strength in me. It created a confidence in myself that I know where that leads. Nope. and I know how that feels, so I can hold space or I can give tools. Or now when I have a daughter, right? Like I've got three of them really. I've got a 21-year-old stepdaughter, a 16-year-old stepdaughter, and my 13-year-old. And I have raised all of them to trust their gut,
Mm,
trust your intuition, even in the smallest moments. Like just trust it. And it's rare that it will lead you wrong. Now it's different. This is a topic for a different day, but it's different when like you got to learn what's your insecurity and what's your intuition speaking. But as children, which really I was when I was 15, I'm still basically a child, right? Our intuition is really pure. It doesn't have anything to go off of at that point. And so learning how to really lean in and trust your intuition, trust your gut, and also, having these conversations. Like I've had full-on conversations about my experiences with my kids when they were age appropriate, right? And so all of them know, and all of them know that, okay, be in a safe environment. Like know yourself, who's around you, be aware. And the beauty piece too, Jordan, as a dad, I love that because it's important for you to tell your daughter that she's beautiful because she is, and you do see her as that. But also raising awareness extremely to the other attributes that make up her, right? So, for example, before my daughter would go to bed every night, the last thing that I would say to her, up until she was like, "Mom, don't tuck me in anymore. It's not cool." I would end off by saying, "You are brave. You are kind. You are important. You are smart. You are funny. You are beautiful." So I added it in there,
yeah.
but it was a list of all of the other things. And when she got a little bit older, it was like, "What are you?" She'd say it back to me, right? And now, as a 13-year-old, yes, she drives me crazy because teens do. But she is pretty steadfast in who she is as a person. And she is like we're a split home, so she goes to spend a week with her dad and stepmom, and then she comes here for a week, and we're great co-parents and co-families. Like it's really, really wonderful. And in that house, she is allowed to wear makeup. And in this house, she's not allowed to wear makeup.
Mm,
And that is like a really good balance for her because I'm not against makeup. I wear makeup, right? But it's a really good balance for her to like have fun with makeup for 1 week if she decides to. And here she is, solidly learning to accept her beauty for her natural beauty. And with what she wears, it's like bra straps don't really need to show when you're 13 years old. Like put on a thicker strapped tank top or a t-shirt or something like that, but you don't necessarily need to look that way. You've got the rest of your life to dress how you want. But up until you get to a certain age, we're gonna have you build your understanding of confidence and beauty outside of exterior things. Because I'm a firm believer that well, even my 21-year-old, like now she wears whatever the hell she wants and she looks amazing and she's super beautiful and sexy and confident and like all of those things. And she's a full grown woman and she can do it.
mm.
She can make her own choices. But up until, they're old enough to leave the home, it's like we don't need to put that extra pressure on you to look and carry yourself a certain way and also welcome exterior comments and situations that could arise from it.
Yeah, our my daughter has a friend across the street. She's 3 years older. And my kids are homeschooled, so like they're used to playing with their friends are all different ages. It's not just, same grade, same age. So this friend across the street, she's, wears makeup. So Irie will come home and she'll want it or whatever. There was actually one time, the first time that she went over there, she came back with her cheeks all rosy. and they were putting makeup on each other. So now my daughter has this interest in makeup, but yeah, it's having this conversation with her like it's not appropriate. But it's, I hear and I listen, I try my best to like listen to women, what they're saying and talking about. And, I hear women say like the makeup is not for men, it's for us. So then
Hmm.
it becomes confusing to me that like, okay, well if that's the case, then like why am I telling my daughter she can't wear it? You know what I mean? But instinctually, like I just feel it's not appropriate. And I
Hmm.
don't really, to be completely honest, I don't really buy that it's for me, not them. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Um, because it's like if you were the last person on earth and there was literally no one else to look at you, would you be putting on makeup? Like I don't think you would be. So,
I I think that maybe a good reframe for this is, instead of saying, this just came to me, but instead of, because I've been saying it too, instead of saying appropriate or not appropriate, needed. Is it needed when we are this young to explore makeup? No, you have the rest of your life to explore makeup. Or, for example, my daughter, because she knows I'm not a makeup person, she'll go, well, we're going to a family gathering. Do you mind if I wear makeup? And then I say, yeah, go for it. Because it's a family, and if you want to have fun and put on some makeup and we're going to go see the family and whatever, then totally fine. That's a great place for you to explore that, have fun with it, and go and have it be seen and complimented.
mhm,
Awesome. That's fine. Because then what you're doing is you're equipping, empowering, and enabling your kid to know the appropriate situation, that it's safe, they're not going to be getting all these, all of that kind of stuff. And you're allowing them space and freedom at a certain age to really explore that. But it doesn't have to be at school or when they go to the mall by themselves, or, all of these key pieces, right? Because that's it's extra pressure. It's extra pressure. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still kind of left wondering after all of this, um, yeah, what could I do? Like I'm working with these hockey players. Of course, like we're focused on the mindset of the game, but also teaching them to be emotionally intelligent, strong young men. Like, is there from a woman, like what do you think is an appropriate way to talk to men about this, to boys, to talk to boys about this? Because all throughout the culture, our culture, the ones that adults are creating and curating through media, we're taught that it's to take control in relationships with women. Every romantic comedy, it comes to a point in the movie where there's a blow up and they're face to face and they're screaming at each other and then the man just reaches in and grabs her and kisses her and it's like this huge thing and the fight's over and like we've seen that over and over and over and over again.
Hmm.
So I think, boys and young men, they like we're just taught this behavior. This is the way it's supposed to be. Um, and then it carries itself right into like real life situations where it's totally not how it's supposed to
Hmm.
be. And it's not appropriate and it's dangerous and it leads to, tragedy like we just spoke about. So I don't know. Like I'm just sitting back, like watching all of this, like, like this is just a mess. This is a complete
Hmm.
mess.
Hmm.
I don't like again, I don't know how to approach this to like to break it. I just know for myself, like I know like I mentioned earlier, like I could have seen moments where I could have ended up in a situation like that, but there was definitely a line where it's like, no, that's not me.
Hmm.
And no one really had said anything to me. I just knew, like I just knew better, or I had the confidence to be like, no, it's not how I roll. Like it's just not my style. You know, I
Hmm.
was always the guy with like in high school, I dated a girl for almost 8 years from elementary school to like outside of high school. Like, that
I
whole
love that.
romanticizer type of
Yeah.
women chasing guy. Like that just wasn't in the cards for me. But no one ever said anything to me. My life
Yeah.
just folded that way.
Yeah. I think a big piece um comes in around young men needing good role models. And where are young men getting their role models from? They're getting them from social media, or they're getting them from things that they watch on TV, or they're getting them from their home. And, it's unfortunate to say that, but a lot of homes don't have good role models or just don't even have them at all because they're single moms raising these boys and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think a big piece comes in as a man and as a coach to really dive into leadership. What
Mm.
makes a good leader? And because when all the feminists on here are gonna fucking hate me after this. I keep dropping F-bombs. Sorry, everybody. But, but men are really, one of their callings is to create safety and keep the women safe. And that isn't something that is talked about at all anymore because of feminism and its like rampant turns. But at the end of the day, that really is what it is about. And so, how can you be a good leader and how can you keep the people who are following you safe? And that ties into sports and being a captain and being a leader on a team and like all those pieces. And then it also transfers into how you are with women and how you treat women. I used to I used to coach senior boys volleyball and I did it for like 7 or 8 years. And I was young when I first started. Like I think I was only maybe 2 years older than the first team that I coached.
Mm.
And I was privy to all of the conversations. And there was a couple of times where the boys would be talking about some girl at school and in a really derogatory manner and thinking it was funny and laughing and being all sexual and like whatever. And in that moment, I could have just been like, not my problem. They're just boys. They're being boys. Or I could take my role as being a coach seriously and call attention to it. And of course, I called attention to it, right? And I called them all into a meeting and I was like, look at you guys. This is not how you speak about women or treat women and I had a whole like life talk motivational speech about it. And it turned out well, actually. One of the times, it was so funny. One of the times, it was one specific player I'm thinking of, and he was being all whatever. And I called him out and was like, that's not okay. Da 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 da. And we spoke about it as a team. And literally a few months later, he started dating this girl in like grade 10, and they're now married with children. Like he went from being a total like meh to I mean, I'm not taking credit for that, but at
Mhm.
some point he had a switch. And
Yeah.
so a lot of these young people that are in our lives, it's important for us as adults to have the uncomfortable conversations around, how to treat yourself, how to respect yourself, how to respect other human beings, and all of that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of like the move forward, I guess. It's to really, as people that young people look up to, how are we acting? Because they're sponges more so to how we're acting than what we're saying, especially in the home. And then how are we able to have these conversations with them to talk about these important things that they're not getting to talk about anywhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's, I feel the same way, just instinctually. Um, yeah, I find just in personal experience, not playing into the culture. Say I'm in a group of guys and, they're starting to talk, sort of in that way. Not laughing at the jokes or
Mm,
or playing into the comments, just
yeah.
Like, no, that's not a funny joke to me.
Yeah.
I've found a lot of success actually that way. Um, yeah, it's a work in progress though. It's just dealing with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, I mean, this conversation could go on forever, right? But at the end of the day, that is the why behind Forged is because of conversations like this and because of my own experience and because of, my journey with struggling with the hardships that came my way through assaults, through having to decide is life worth it or not, having to like all of these pieces, and how if I hadn't, I honestly, if I hadn't had the mental training that I had had that was sports specific, I don't know if I would be here today because I wouldn't have the skills to pull me out of the extreme depths of darkness that I was in, especially after my second attack. And so it's just such a powerful piece. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love having you on as a partner because you bring a totally different aspect. Because I'm doing it from like the life skills and like save my life. And I pretty much got to where I wanted to go, but I didn't actually get to follow through on it. And then you're the flip side of it, where it's like you did get to go. And so your understanding of the skills does stay true to sports. And I think it's very ironic that you're a hockey player.
hmm
And so it's just like I love that you're here adding your view, your perspective, your experiences to this too, because you bring so many different levels and layers to it.
Yeah, I'm on a mission. I feel like there is a blemish on hockey players when
Mm,
people say, "Oh, hockey player," like people have something in their mind of what that is, and it drives me crazy. It's the reason I retired at the time that I did. I was getting
mm,
tired of people. What do you do for a living? Oh, I play professional hockey. Okay, now I'm put in a box, and that drove me nuts. So I was
yeah.
like, I'm gonna retire and show you guys that I'm not just this. But uh, yeah, let's change the culture. Let's change the
Mm.
culture.
Yeah. And we do it
Yeah.
by equipping young people at a young age when their brains are still absorbing everything at like exponential speed. They're learning how to be resilient, how to stand up for themselves, how to act with integrity, how to be the leader and not go the way that everybody else is, how to be the extra and ordinary,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, that's our why. So that's
Or why?
That's it. Thank you everybody for listening. This was probably it probably evoked a lot of feelings for people listening and questions and comments and maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Like it's okay. It's okay. All of it is okay. These are hard topics to hear, to have conversations around, like we said. And yeah, Jordan, thanks for holding space for me today while I told my story. And yeah, you did good.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing and being candid. And yeah, I mentioned at the start that we never had anything close to a conversation like this. So everyone is hearing it, for the first time alongside me. And again, just thank you for that. And um part of me is just feeling a little bit like, did I hold space correctly? Like,
Mm,
um, because yeah, this is an area where I just don't know. I don't know about. I hear stories, and there's a lot of men like me. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, thank you for sharing, and for those of you guys listening, I think it's just important to ask questions and open your mind and really try to um, hear what people are saying when they share things, not just listen, but like try to hear it from their perspective, in their shoes. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, thanks again.
Yeah. And I don't want to leave this on like it was a hard, heavy topic today. And I just think that, you know what, like there is hope too. Like there is always silver lining. We talked about this on our live this morning. There is always something to be thankful for and to focus on that will bring us to the other side. And so my story was hard, but it literally created who I am today, and I absolutely love who I am today. And it gave me the grit and the strength to be able to build this forged so that other young people are equipped for when life tosses them crazy things. I mean, let's hope it's not the same situation I went through, but it could be getting laid off or a parent passing away or a dog like whatever. There is grief, there is struggle, there is hardship, and being able to equip young people at a young age with these skills and these tools is life changing both for sport and for life. And so if you want support, if this has hit a nerve, if you like whatever, join our school group. It's where other parents are congregating. We're building a team in there for,
Mhm.
parents so that you don't feel alone and not knowing how to have these conversations or what to do next and all that kind of stuff. So, reach out, come join the community and just start equipping yourself too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay, everybody. Until next time, train your mind, build your grit, and forge your legacy.